Everyone. I am Lauren Cadillac and I'm with Cadillac Law. Today we're going to be doing one part of our many-part series on real estate investing. As always, nothing said here is legal advice and nothing creates an attorney-client relationship between you, the viewer, and myself or my firm. Today we have a special guest. I'm so excited. And his name is Dan Fradenburgh. He is the CTO of Lauren Capital. Obviously, I love Lauren Capital because my name is Lauren, so it's a great name. And Dan and Lauren Capital focus on multifamily investments. So a lot of folks, when they think of real estate investing, and of course, some of this series, we talked about single family home, we talk about being landlord tenant. But with Dan, I really wanted to help folks see that there are other ways to invest in real estate as well. So, Dan, thank you for being here.
Definitely my pleasure.
All right. So, before we get into the money, which is going to be the main topic of our call today, why don't you tell us what is multifamily investing?
All right, beautiful. The best way for me to answer that is the context of how I got into multifamily, which is I worked for a single family residential flipping firm. They'd flip 10 houses a month. They'd always have 10 houses on the go at any given moment. So when you're talking about single family residential, that's actual houses, or it can also be like duplexes and things like that.
Mhm.
But multifamily is when you get to 5 units or more. Now, what brought me to it, which is so important if you're going to understand like why even involve yourself in multifamily, the simple math is people think, okay, if you have one house and one tenant and then they stop paying, then 100% of the income is gone, yet you still have 100% of the holding costs or bills from owning it. Whereas if you have a 100-unit apartment complex and one person doesn't pay or leaves or something like that, that's just 1% of the tenant base. And so basically you can take more hits like that. So multifamily is about apartment complexes and taking over that way.
I love that. So you're kind of really just spreading the risk
Mm-hmm,
by
mm-hmm.
having more units.
Exactly. And
I
also
think,
making use of economies of scale, that sort of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Yes. And I think that people maybe don't know about multifamily investing because when you drive by large apartment complexes, you just assume that a giant corporation owns those, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, even I 2 years ago didn't really know that this multifamily thing was a thing. And it actually was kind of getting to meet and know you, Dan, that helped me kind of learn about multifamily investing. So, for folks who are watching this series about real estate investing and they're like, whoa, buying an apartment complex. First, if I want to invest in real estate, I personally could not even go buy a house right now to rent to
Mm-hmm,
someone, like
mm-hmm.
capital wise.
Right.
So, what I want to talk to you about is if I'm one of these people like, wow, this apartment, this is a great idea.
Mm-hmm,
And I maybe even find a 10-unit building.
mm-hmm.
What do I need? Like, where do I begin? What's the first step for people who are watching who want to get involved in multifamily investing?
Great. So the first thing has to be meeting a ton of people in the business. And the best way to do that is find out whatever your local get together, your local meetup is for people who do invest in these different properties. And of course, if you're talking about these apartment complexes that are worth millions or tens of millions of dollars, it's pretty obvious to everybody. It's like it's pretty rare that somebody has the money to take them down. But the simple answer is that that's what the team is for. It's not just one person. And so the other thing too is that entrepreneurs in general, they understand the value of pretty much everything. So they realize that even if you are low on cash, there are roles where sweat equity will foot the bill. They'll say, sure, if you're willing to help with this, if you're willing to, be contractually obligated to contribute, then, you can own part of that building as well. So The other thing that's really important, though, when you think of where does the money come from, one of the biggest spots that I've found people will do that really surprises them in their ability to get into an asset class like commercial real estate is people tend to have like a 401k or something like that, where they're just trusting Wall Street to, multiply their equity and provide for their retirement, which I am quite skeptical about that personally. But there are ways you can convert your 401k into something that you can invest with. And there are professionals that focus on just that part. And any syndicator will have a few friends they can recommend for making that jump and getting out of Wall Street and getting onto Main Street, which I think is the main play if
I
you're
like
going
that.
for apartment complexes.
So let me stop you there and let me have you explain to our audience today what a syndicator and a syndication are.
Sure. So the most important part of what it means to be a syndicator, it means that you are selling securities. Now, securities, you're not allowed to sell them. As a matter of fact, you have to either be a licensed broker dealer, or you have to file with the SEC for an exemption, or you are just breaking the law. But what is a security? A security means that there's somebody who puts in money but no work whatsoever. In return for that investment, they end up getting passive income, a piece of the profit of the business. So the person who's actually doing the work and then makes that security and then finds investors, that is the part that you have to register with the SEC before you do it. But I've actually met people who they've got their law degree and they passed the bar exam and they didn't know that you're not allowed to sell securities. So don't be too surprised if this is all new to you. But the main thing is you just have to find out what are the available ways to you personally where you can take passive investors' money and not be breaking the law.
And so is that the syndication, a collection of passive investors? Is that what we mean when we say syndication in multifamily speak?
Yeah. When you syndicate, it means you turn the business, you have part of it that is a security, and you're selling interest in that security. So the idea is that you would be a part owner as a limited partner, which means you cannot do any work in that role. And the general partners would be the ones responsible for the work. So anytime, like even if you have a lemonade stand and you're taking on passive investors to become the greatest lemonade stand in town, that's still selling a security, and you can't do that without filing for an exemption or having a licensed broker dealer or just breaking the law.
Well, so that to me, with the lemonade stand, it sounds like an IPO, right? Like if you went to do a public offering so you can be the world's greatest lemonade stand, and IPOs are highly regulated by the SEC and they are securities. So that makes sense. Dan, I want to just kind of close out. We're doing brief videos here, and I am going to have you come back. We have several topics we're going to talk about in this series, you and I. But to close out on this one, I want to just say personally, when I learned about apartment syndication, I kind of thought it was a scam.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded a little like too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So, just in your just your personal opinion, who is a good candidate to do a silent investment or to be a limited partner in a syndicate?
Okay, so in a commercial real estate syndication, the most important thing to understand is these are illiquid assets. Okay, so if 8 months go by after you wired your funds and you say, "Hey, I really, 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 really need my money back," then the person who's issuing the security is probably going to answer back, "Well, there's a problem. Your money is now a refrigerator in Unit 101 and a balcony on Unit 202, and and something like that." So in other words, it's been deployed. So getting your money back out is something where like there's a schedule and there's a plan for that. And that is what is shared while you're signing all the documents and finalizing the deal and all that sort of thing. So when it comes to turning around and saying, is it a scam? I just look at the legal recourse, which is how do you know that this is something that's real? And as soon as you're involved in a real syndication of a commercial property, you'll be very convinced it's real very fast, just because the number of emails that you're getting about these little tiny details. There's like, who could possibly care about any of this? And the answer is everybody involved cares about all of that.
I love it. I love
Right?
it. All right, Dan. Well, thank you. In our next video we're going to do in this series between you and I, we're going to talk about the lender. So everyone that's interested, we're talking real estate investment. I'm Lauren Cadillac with Cadillac Law. This has been Dan Fradenburgh, and we hope to see you in the next of our series.